welcome. Before we begin, tell me softly, where are you listening from? What time is it there? You can share it in the comments. And as you do, let this story carry you. You don't need to follow. Just breathe and drift. Was quiet, but not empty. Beneath its endless golden waves, something waited. Not a beast, not a curse, but a memory. So old it had forgotten its own name. The wind whispered over the dunes. It didn't howl, it hummed. Low, steady, and kind. And in that soundless hum, a traveler walked. Not hurried, not lost, just moving. Her name was Layet. She did not carry a map, only a broken amulet, half buried in dust and dreams. The sun was high, but her shadow stayed close, as if the past still clung to her heels. She walked not towards something, but away from noise. Long ago, they said, a temple was carved into the heart of the stone. Not built, carved, hidden beneath the sand, where no wind could reach, and only silence lived. They called it the Temple of the Sun that listens. It had no priests, no walls, only a single hallway, so quiet you could hear your thoughts leave you. Layet reached a ridge. Below, half covered by sand, was a stairwell that hadn't felt a footstep in centuries. She paused. The amulet in her hand grew warm. Not hot, just aware. She stepped down. 1 step, 2. Then the wind stopped. Completely. Below the earth, the air was different. Thick with time, cool with memory. Stone met her fingers, carved with symbols so worn they no longer spoke words. Yet she understood. Not in language, but in feeling. Each mark was a breath. Each curve a sigh. Each silence a sentence. There was no torch, no flame, yet the passage glowed softly, not from light, but from remembering, as if the walls had seen too much to stay dark. It moved deeper. Not cautiously, but respectfully. She didn't touch the walls, but they touched her, in ways her skin didn't notice, but her soul did. At the end of the corridor was a door with no handle, no seam, no mechanism, just a shape, a circle within a circle, etched into the stone like a closed eye. She placed the amulet at its center. The stone took a breath, and the door forgot how to be closed. As it slid away, a hush fell so deep the door did not close behind her. It simply vanished, like it had never been there. Layet stood at the edge of a wide, round chamber. Its floor was polished stone, not from hands, but from centuries of stillness. In the center, a single stone seat, and nothing else. No altar, no writing, no torch. Yet the room was full, not with objects, but with presence. Something ancient, not watching, but aware. She stepped forward. Each footfall landed like a whisper. The silence around her didn't resist, it welcomed. The walls were carved with lines that didn't form words, just gentle waves, like wind made solid. Her breath slowed, not because she tried, but because the room asked her to. She listened, and the silence answered, not in sound, but in feeling. The chamber breathed with memory, not hers, not the world's. Something older, something patient. A voice, not made a voice. We are not made to remember everything, the silence said. Only what makes us softer. Layette knelt. She did not pray. She waited. In front of her, the air shimmered, not from heat, but from attention. A figure emerged, not a person, not a spirit. A shape made of hush, draped in flowing stillness, wearing nothing but presence. It spoke, but not in words. Its voice arrived in her chest, not her ears. You have walked far, but distance is not depth. To go further, you must go quieter. Layette closed her eyes and let go of her thoughts, one by one. Her name, her footsteps, her fear, until only breath remained. And then, even that became the room. The figure moved, not walking, but remembering itself forward. It offered her a bowl, empty, but heavy. She took it, felt its weight, and knew it wasn't for water or offering. It was for silence. Fill it slowly, said the hush being, with stillness, with stories not told, with the pauses between thoughts. Layette nodded. Her body barely moved, but something in the room relaxed, as if a long-held breath had been honored. In the center of the chamber, the floor shifted. A circle of stone lowered, revealing a spiral staircase cut into the earth. No echo came from below, just a feeling, like memory wrapped in velvet. The spiral did not end, or if it did, time forgot to count. Layette descended not by measure, but by feeling. Each step smaller than breath, each turn slower than thought. The bowl in her hands remained empty, but heavier, as if silence had weight after all. The walls glowed gently, not from torches, but from something remembering itself. Symbols flickered, faded, and returned, like thoughts just beyond language. They were not meant to be read. They were meant to be felt. Far below, a sound. Not sharp, not sudden. A drop, not of water, but of memory. Like someone had recalled a moment too long forgotten, and it landed gently on the floor of the world. Layette reached the bottom. There was no room, just an opening. A wide stone hall with pillars so tall they vanished into darkness. But the darkness here was not fear. It was rest. She entered. The air shifted. No dust, no scent, just weight. Not heavy, just ancient, like everything around her had decided to be quiet for 1,000 years. Along the walls, mosaics appeared, but they were not images, Not quite. They moved, not with animation, but with remembrance. A river that flowed upward, a sun that blinked, a city that bowed instead of burned. Each mosaic showed something that never happened, but still felt true. Layet paused at one, a child offering silence to a statue, and the statue smiling, but only inside. Her footsteps softened, then stopped. In the center of the great hall stood an altar, not raised, but lowered, as if the world bent toward it. On it, a second bowl, this one full, but not with water, with pause. She felt it, a dense, invisible thing, like the moment right before sleep. She placed her empty bowl beside it. They didn't touch, but they agreed. Something changed, not around her, within her. A hum began, but not sound. More like her bones remembered a song the world had forgotten. She listened. It didn't sing. It rested. And the mosaic walls, they breathed, not in or out, but around, as if every silence had a shape, and she stood still, not because she had to, but because the air itself had stopped moving, not frozen, not heavy, just completely still. Then it arrived. A sound, soft, far, low, but not from outside. It came from within the walls, within the stone, within her. Not a voice, not music, an echo of something never said aloud. Layet turned. Behind her, a third bowl had appeared. She hadn't seen it, hadn't heard it, but it was there, cracked, empty, facing away from the altar. She approached. On its rim, a faint engraving, one so worn it was more ghost than shape. She ran a finger along it and felt a word, not read, not heard, just known. Return. She did not know what to return. She had nothing, only her silence. And the silence said, "That is enough." The room dimmed, not into darkness, but into memory. The pillars faded, the mosaics dissolved, but the feeling remained, like warmth from a fire that had long gone out. She looked down. The bowls were gone. So was the altar. But she felt no fear, only stillness. And stillness here meant the world was listening. A doorway appeared, not opened, just no longer hidden. A soft arch, wrapped in ivy that should not have grown underground. But there it was, alive, green, breathing. Layet stepped through, and the air changed. Cooler, wetter, closer. The stone walls turned to carved wood, polished, aged, and quiet, as if they had once been trees who remembered what it meant to bend, but not break. A long corridor stretched ahead, not straight. It curved, like thought. On either side, doors. Hundreds, all closed, all identical, except one. At the end of the curve, a door stood slightly ajar. No light spilled from it. No sound. Just permission. She walked toward it, each step quieter than the last, until her feet forgot they were walking. She reached the door, paused. Inside, not a room, but a garden, lit not by sun, but by memory. Petals shimmered in silver hues. Water moved without sound, and in the center, the figure did not rise. They simply looked, not with curiosity, not with judgment, but with welcome. Layette stepped into the garden, and the air thickened, not with heat, but with listening. Each leaf turned slightly. Each petal leaned closer, not toward her, but toward her silence. The figure gestured without movement, and a bench appeared. Smooth stone, moss covered. She sat, without question, without sound. A breeze moved through the garden, but not like wind, like breath, exhaled by the space itself. Layette closed her eyes, and the garden opened its memory. She saw a younger self, but not her, another, dressed in familiar fabric, walking the same halls, touching the same bowl, a reflection not of who she was, but of what she carried. The figure beside her spoke without words. You are not the first to arrive empty, but emptiness is not a lack. It is a readiness. She opened her eyes. The garden was not still. It breathed, not in air, but in time. Around her, memories moved, not past ones, but possibilities. She looked at the figure again. Their features were soft, unclear, as if they had been many faces and none. But their eyes held something constant, something deep, not knowing, but kindness. They offered her a fruit, small, golden, silent. She took it, held it, did not eat, and that was enough. This place, the figure said, but not aloud, is not for answers. It is for the wait between them. That's where the story lives. The garden shimmered, not changed, but revealed. Paths appeared, dozens, leading to more doors, more chambers, more layers of stillness. But Layette stayed, because the stillness here was not finished with her. The figure stood. Their robe rustled like paper in deep water. They stepped into the light and dissolved into it. No farewell, no drama, just return. She looked down. The fruit in her hand had turned into stone, smooth, warm, alive. She placed it on the moss, and it pulsed. Around her, the garden whispered, not in words, but in relief. Another silence had been carried, and set down. She chose the left path, not because it felt right, but because it felt quiet. The stone beneath her feet had softened, not literally, but in memory, like it remembered a time when footsteps were gentler. The first door didn't open. It sighed, a soft release, like a breath that had waited centuries to exhale. Inside, a room of sand, not desert, not dry, but warm, moving, alive. She stepped in, and the sand rose, not in waves, but in shapes, faces, moments, laughter caught in grain. Not hers, not others, just remembered. The silence in the room was playful, like a child, hiding behind curtains of gold. She smiled, and the sand responded, forming patterns beneath her feet. Curves, circles, echoes of a language too soft to write. She stepped out, not hurried, not unsure. The door sealed itself. With a whisper, "Thank you for seeing." The second door stood tall, made of dark wood, cracked with age, but strong. She opened it. Cold air, a library, but not with books, with scrolls. So many scrolls, and none had titles. She walked between shelves, not reading, just listening. The scrolls rustled, though no wind moved. Some whispered, some sighed, some wept, not loudly, not sadly, just tired. In the center of the library, a low table. On it, a scroll with her name. Not written, just felt. She sat, unrolled it, blank, and yet so full. The moment she blinked, the scroll rolled itself back up. She placed it back on the table, and the room seemed to nod. Some stories do not need telling, it said, to be real. The next room did not have a door, just an opening shaped like an ear. She passed through. Inside, nothing. No objects. No sounds. But she felt everything. All the echoes. All the breaths. All the unsaid words that ever mattered. They didn't speak. They rested. Around her. Within her. Like a second skin. When she stepped out, her heartbeat had slowed. Her breath, barely there, but not in danger. In peace. The hall curved again. More doors awaited. Some open, some sealed. But she no longer sought them. They sought her, because the temple had remembered her. The pool held her gaze. Not like a mirror, but like a memory waiting to be forgiven. Layet leaned closer. Her breath touched the surface, and the surface breathed back. Not a ripple, a reply. She saw not her face, not her past, but her silence, held like a child in arms of time. The stars above shifted, not fast, just enough to be noticed. A soft sound behind her. She turned. No figure, no wind, just an opening. A doorway made of golden threads, woven from light and pause. She stepped through. The world on the other side was not new, not different. It was the same, but listening. The trees leaned slightly, as if greeting her silence. The stones beneath her feet no longer waited. They remembered, and that was enough. She walked, not toward anything, not away, but with breath, with stillness, with story. In her hands, no bowl, no scroll, no key, just one thing. Her name, quiet and whole. She came to the edge of a wide field. tall grass, low wind, and in the center, a single tree. It did not bloom. It did not speak. It stood and waited. She sat beneath it, closed her eyes, not to sleep, not to dream, but to listen. And the world answered, not in sound, but in closeness, like it had always been there, waiting for her to stop searching. Above her, the sky shifted again, this time into dawn. Not bright, not loud, just honest. The silence inside her stretched its arms, took one deep breath, and rested. For the first time, Layet did not wonder what came next. She knew. It would be quiet. It would be soft. It would be hers. And so, the temple did not end, because silence has no door, only invitation, and hers had been answered. Close your eyes now. Let your own story find you. Sleep well.